ceremony will be given. As a reminder, military members should stand at attention and salute on the first note of the national anthem and taps. During the national anthem and the playing of taps, our civilian guests should place their right hand over their heart. Military veterans national anthem. I invite you to join me as I pray. Almighty God, strengthen us as we stand in remembrance today, reflecting upon the events which took place 26 years ago. 25/2/1996. Forever etched in the memory of our hearts and minds. On this day, we pause to honor 19 airmen who paid the ultimate price in our effort to secure freedom and democracy. Among them, it's we can stand for families carrying the loss of 12 nomads from within our ranks. As we gaze upon this flaming sword, we are reminded of a moment when each raised their right hand, perhaps born out of a sense of patriotism, duty, honor, and quality. We are reminded of an intense training preparation of reminded of a mission set before them. Mission to service others. Mission to Airmen. We're reminded of the friends, families, colleagues standing among us this morning. Continue to bear the weight of this memory. God of grace, though time travels on, our mission continues. So that cease their wandering in this time. As we provide peace and overwatch for those who are left to mourn, grant us strength to carry on their legacy. Welcome today, honor the lives of those who sacrifice without me. Silence.
Thank you, Edwin Undergard, Mr. Fonzie Winkler, and Chaplain Hank. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. We would like to thank all family members and friends, as well as our survivors of the Khobar Towers tragedy, who are in attendance at today's ceremony. If you would like to be recognized, please feel free to stand and raise your hand when your family member's name is called. In attendance with us today are the family and friends of Technical Sergeant Gus Wynn, Sergeant Miller Campbell, Senior Airman Jeremy Taylor, Airman First Class Brent Bartholomew, Airman First Class Joseph Rienkus, Airman First Class Justin Wood, Airman First Class Joshua Wood. Also, if there are any additional family members in attendance today or any survivors of the Khobar Towers tragedy joining us, please feel free to stand or raise your hand at this time. Thank you. Truly appreciate your attendance. It is an honor to have you with us here today. Your loved ones will never be forgotten and will always hold a special place in the hearts of the Nomad family. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the commander, 33rd Fighter Wing, Colonel Jack Martha.
On the night of 25 June 1996, a sewage truck used as a bomb was detonated with a force of 20 to 30,000 pounds of TNT near the Khobar Towers housing complex in Dhahran, Saudi Arabia. The blast killed 19 airmen and injured 498 U.S. and coalition service members and civilians. We're gathered here today, just as we have for the last 26 years, as nomads, past and present, and as survivors and family members, to pay our respects, to honor the sacrifice, to thank God for the survivors, and to remember our 12 nomads who gave their lives that day in service of a grateful nation. It's a privilege to be here with you today. We must never forget, and part of our responsibility is to share the story and the background of this heinous terrorist attack and our airmen's heroic response, both for those all too familiar with the sacrifice and for those unfamiliar. To remember the righteousness of our cause and to fully understand the vile character and the methods of those who hate freedom and individual liberty. Our nation is blessed with an all-volunteer force, and our nomads selflessly volunteer to go wherever and whenever they were called. Their mission was to deploy and operate out of King Abdul Aziz International Airport in Dhahran, Saudi Arabia, flying and fighting with coalition forces supporting Operation Southern Watch, flying combat patrols enforcing the no-fly zone over southern Iraq. The mission had grown out of the force that stayed behind in 1991 after Desert Storm to enforce UN resolutions and the terms of the ceasefire with Iraq. Khobar Towers housed about 3,000 Air Force personnel and several hundred US Army troops. British and French forces also lived in the complex in their own buildings. The towers were divided by a fence with many more apartment buildings and housing Saudi civilians, and private homes were just across the street. The airmen living in Khobar Towers were well known for working hard, for bettering themselves through education and working out, and they even liked to have a little fun every now and then. They'd often strike up a game of street hockey, and were also known to wander over the diamond for a game of softball. This was the bloodiest attack on America between the Beirut Marine Barracks bombing in 1983 and September 11th of 2001. The immediate heroism and steadfast response of our airmen and coalition partners following the Khobar Towers attack demonstrates the virtuous character of our nomads and the justice of our purpose. As recounted by survivors, anyone able to walk immediately assisted in the care of the wounded, transporting and helping anywhere possible, from using doors as stretchers to helping someone who had lost a limb. As reflected upon by Master Sergeant Norma Gillette, then Airman First Class Gillette, on her first deployment, she said, whether you were injured or not, if you could walk and help, you were doing it. Even more astounding, though, and again, demonstrating Americans will not be deterred or intimidated by terrorism. Within 36 hours of the attack, the Expeditionary Wing had resumed generating and flying Operation Southern Watch missions and enforcing the no-fly zone once again over southern Iraq. Though our nomads, immortalized on the wall behind you, have ceased their wandering, their legacy lives on and lives strong. They exemplify the warrior ethos of selfless sacrifice still present in the wing today, as embodied by the survivors, their family members, and friends who silently bear the burden of their absence. Their sacrifice, your sacrifice, is beyond measure. We see the courage and your courage in the men and women of the 33rd Rifle who voluntarily continue our mission today. Still flying, still fighting, and still serving. We honor our 12 nomads' memory and legacy by meeting our responsibilities and never ceasing to improve, to attain excellence in service of a common purpose, a common mission, to support and defend an idea made explicit in our Constitution, that our natural rights guaranteed by our government ensure all men and women the right to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yes, our nomads' cause was just, and their sacrifice valuable beyond measure. And for that, we are eternally.
Thank you, Colonel Ortho. Today, we honor the 19 fearless warriors who made the ultimate sacrifice 26 years ago. Senior Airman Earl Cartret, Jr. Airman Cartret is from Silver Spring, Indiana. He enjoyed auto racing and spent time rebuilding his Chevy Nova. He was assigned as a support section technician for the 58 Fighter Squadron, Eglin Air Force Base, Florida. Sergeant Miller Sue Campbell. Sergeant Campbell was from Angleton, Texas. He enjoyed taking care of his airmen and made sure they all had somewhere to go during the holidays. He was assigned as an assistant NCOIC of the Operations Resource Manager for the 58 Fighter Squadron, Eglin Air Force Base, Florida. Airman First Class Brent Marthal. Airman Marthala was from Cambridge, Minnesota. He had a positive attitude at work and always did his part to boost his co-workers' morale. He devoted his free time to teaching Sunday school to children in the Eglin Chapel. He was assigned as a dedicated crew chief for the 58 Fighter Squadron, Eglin Air Force Base, Florida. Technical Sergeant Tom Gus Wynn. Sergeant Wynn was from Panama City, Florida. He volunteered many hours in the community, helping the victims of Hurricane Oakland. He was assigned as a Gold Flag Corps member for the 33rd Logistics Group, Eglin Air Force Base, Florida. Technical Sergeant Patrick Fennick. Sergeant Fennick was from Greenville, Wisconsin. He loved the Air Force, traveling, shooting, scuba diving, and spear fishing. He was assigned as a flight line expediter for the 60th Fighter Squadron, Eglin Air Force Base, Florida. Airman First Class Joseph Rehnquist. Airman Rehnquist was from Edwardsville, Illinois. He enjoyed playing basketball, always volunteered for additional duties, and never complained. He was assigned as a weapons load crew member for the 58 Fighter Squadron, Eglin Air Force Base, Florida. Airman First Class Brian McVeigh. Airman McVeigh was from Barry, Florida. He was quiet and respectful and an avid auto racing fan. He was assigned as a dedicated crew chief for the 58 Fighter Squadron, Eglin Air Force Base, Florida. Airman First Class Joshua Wood. Airman Woody was from Corning, California. He was a selfless worker with an outgoing personality and always had a smile on his face. He was assigned as a weapons load crew member for the 58 Fighter Squadron, Eglin Air Force Base, Florida. Technical Sergeant Daniel Sephora. Sergeant Sephora was from Watertown, South Dakota. He was a consummate professional and a friend to all. He was assigned as a dedicated crew chief for the 58 Fighter Squadron, Eglin Air Force Base, Florida. Airman First Class Peter Morgera. Airman Morgera was from Streatham, New Hampshire. He was a reliable and hardworking professional. He enjoyed playing darts, shooting pool, and going to the beach. He was assigned as an end-up runway crew member for the 33rd Operations Support Squadron, Eglin Air Force Base, Florida. Senior Airman Jeremy Taylor. Airman Taylor was from Rose Hill, Kansas. He was very close to his family and spoke to them on the phone every Sunday. He had an outgoing personality and enjoyed cookouts with his fellow mechanics. He was assigned as an engine technician for the 33rd Maintenance Squadron, Eglin Air Force Base, Florida. Master Sergeant Kendall Dixon Jr. Sergeant Kitson was from Yukon, Oklahoma. KK had a great sense of humor. He enjoyed boating, fishing, and playing volleyball. He was assigned as a production superintendent for the 58th Fire Squadron, Eglin Air Force Base, Florida. Captain Christopher Adams. Captain Adams was from Massapequa Park, New York. He had two loves in his life, his fiancee, Air Force Captain Karen Ouellette, and the 32-foot cabin cruiser, Diamond Ray. He was assigned as the HC-130 aircraft commander for the 71st Rescue Squadron, Patrick Air Force Base, Florida. Captain Leon Hong. Captain Hong was from Clovis, California. His peers described him as a jokester, artist, comedian, avid reader, and family man. He was assigned as a C-130 navigator for the 71st Rescue Squadron, Patrick Air Force Base, Florida. Master Sergeant Michael Heiser. Sergeant Heiser was from Palm Coast, Florida. He was assigned as an airborne communications and electronics system technician for the 71st Rescue Squadron, Patrick Air Force Base, Florida. Staff Sergeant Kevin Johnson. Sergeant Johnson was from Shreveport, Louisiana. He preferred to go by the nickname KJ, and he was passionate about flying. He was assigned as a flight engineer for the 71st Rescue Squadron, Patrick Air Force Base, Florida. Staff Sergeant Ronald King. Sergeant King was from Battle Creek, Michigan. After 9 successful years as a graphics technician, he cross-trained into the contracting career field. He was assigned as a finance technician for the 55th Contracting Squadron, Offutt Air Force Base, Nebraska. Airman First Class Justin Wood. Airman Wood was from Modesto, California. His peers affectionately referred to him as Junior because he was the youngest member of the unit. He was assigned as a loadmaster for the 71st Rescue Squadron, Patrick Air Force Base, Florida. Airman First Class Christopher Lester. Airman Lester was from Pineville, West Virginia. He enjoyed softball, basketball, weightlifting, and riding motorcycles with members of his shop. He was assigned to the 88th Civil Engineering Squadron at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us as we observe 1 minute of silence and reflect on the lives of the 19 brave airmen. Colonel Coulthard and Chief Rose, please come forward to lay the Khobar Towers Memorial wreath in remembrance of our fallen heroes. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the playing of taps. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Chaplain Henry, please come forward for the benediction.
I want you again to join me as I pray. Eternal God, I thank you for the great company of all those who have finished their course in faith and now rest from their labor. I thank you for those who we have named in these moments and in our hearts. Thank you for the nomads who have graciously received each of us. Now, may the Lord bless you. The Lord make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you, and face toward you.
Thank you, Chaplain Henry. Ladies and gentlemen, the men and women of the United States Air Force and the 33rd Fighter Group are proud to honor those lost in the Khobar Towers attack 26 years ago. Let us remember that once a nomad, always a nomad. As you leave today, we ask that you please continue to pray for and support the families and friends of our fallen brothers and all those who have survived the Khobar Towers attack. Words cannot express our gratitude for all you have sacrificed for our great nation. Thank you for attending today's remembrance ceremony. Khobar Towers family members and survivors are invited to remain here at the memorial for as long as they like. Family members and friends, they are also welcome to take the flowers off the booth and attend a reception in the 33rd Fighter Wing Heritage Room across the street in the 33rd Fighter Wing headquarters building. Thank you and have a wonderful day.